About 27% of Americans don't have an emergency fund, and I want to change that. An emergency fund is money set aside for unexpected expenses or financial emergencies. As we all know, life is unpredictable, things happen, car repairs, home maintenance, medical bills, so on and so forth. And those things tend to pop up when you least expect them to. An emergency fund allows you to handle these unexpected costs without going into further debt and without disrupting your budget. By the way, I did wear this shirt intentionally for this video because it's red and it like screams emergency. In this video, I'm going to talk about why you need an emergency fund, how much to save in it, where to save that money, and how to build it. And before I go through everything, did you know that a great place to save some money is your phone plan? And I highly recommend switching to Mint Mobile, who is the partner of today's video. And let me say that right now, if you are watching this on the day the video goes up, January 24th, 2025, today is the last day to take advantage of their best deal of the year. So you can always get a phone plan through Mint Mobile for as low as $15 per month, but you can get their unlimited plan, the whole year of the unlimited plan, for 50% off. So you're paying $15 per month for the unlimited plan. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text, high quality speed, data, and coverage. You get access to 5G, access to a mobile hotspot, and you get to keep your same phone and you get to keep your same phone number. Making the switch is also super easy. Visit mintmobile.com/debtoverit. That's also linked down below in my description box. From there, you'll enter in a little bit of information about yourself and you can determine if your phone is eSIM compatible. If your phone is eSIM compatible, then you can set things up right from the comfort of your home in just a few minutes. If your phone is not eSIM compatible, Mint will ship a SIM card to your home. You'll get it in a couple of days free of charge. And then you can also set things up all by yourself in just a few minutes. I've been with Mint Mobile for over 2 years now, and I love being able to save money on my phone plan without sacrificing the coverage that I need for my daily use of my phone. So if you also want to save some money without the sacrifice, visit mintmobile.com/debtoverit. That's linked down below in my description box. I would really appreciate if you use my link. It really supports my channel. And as I said before, this is a super limited time opportunity for you to get their unlimited plan, the 12-month plan, for 50% off. Otherwise, you can always get a plan for as low as $15 per month. So no matter what, you're probably going to be saving money by switching to Mint Mobile. But by making the switch and saving that money, you can put that toward your emergency fund. So let's talk about the emergency fund. Thank you again to Mint Mobile for partnering with me on this video. I already touched on this a bit, but an emergency fund protects you against those unexpected expenses that are unfortunately typically inevitable. So the car maintenance, the home maintenance, urgent care for yourself or for your children, job loss, you get a toothache, etc. These expenses often cause people to go into debt or further debt, and then it creates this vicious cycle that's just really hard to get out of. An emergency fund also reduces financial stress or just stress in general. Now, there are some people out there who believe that emergency funds are unnecessary, like you could tap into other resources or just have that money invested and pull from it if absolutely necessary. And I do understand where they're coming from, but having money saved that's easily accessible provides so much peace of mind. And speaking from my own experience, it does help you just sleep better at night. And then finally, an emergency fund protects your long-term savings and investments. So more and more over the recent years, people have been tapping into their 401ks, so borrowing against their 401ks. And now, while that's not the absolute worst thing that you could do, it's not something that I recommend, and I'd rather you never ever touch that money until you actually hit retirement. So by having an emergency fund, we can prevent that. You've probably heard the recommended number of $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. While that's definitely not enough for most people, especially long term, that is a great starting point. It's a great number to aim for if you are starting from zero. However, once you reach that 1K figure, I do recommend continuing to add to your emergency fund on a monthly basis, even if it's just a little bit, and even if you have debts to pay off, including high interest debts. And real quick, I want to put a word of warning here, and this is not to discourage anybody, but honestly, this part of your financial journey can be a really difficult process. I'm not going to lie. For a lot of people, making room for savings on a monthly basis is tough. And getting to even just $500 in your emergency fund is something that can take months and months depending on your situation. And honestly, often what happens is you get to that $500 or you get to that $1,000 and something pops up, an emergency pops up, and you have to deplete it. That is something that I experienced early on in my journey. And like I said before, I don't want this to discourage you from building an emergency fund. I actually want to encourage you to keep going. And if that is a situation that you find yourself in, I want you to be proud that you did have that money saved for that emergency. You built that emergency fund through your hard work and you used it for what it was intended for. And that is okay. You can just start again and continue the process. It will eventually get easier. But anyways, back to how much you should have in your emergency fund. So beyond that initial starter emergency fund, so let's say you hit that 1K, personally, I would suggest saving 1 month of bare bones expenses or saving enough to cover your highest deductible if you are renting, so you don't own the home, you are just renting, and if something were to happen, you can have your landlord fix it or the apartment complex fix it. If you don't have any dependents, so you don't have any children, you're not caring for anybody, taking care of anybody, even pets, I would say if you have pets, then you probably shouldn't fall into this category. If you have a newer car and or a reliable car, and then finally, if you have a stable job, and that's kind of up to you to determine. However, if you are on the opposite side of that, so you own a home, and you are responsible for any home maintenance. You have dependents, so you have children or you have pets, or if you have an older car or a car with a lot of miles on it, or a job where things are a bit shaky and you're feeling not so secure there, then I would recommend a larger emergency fund. So in that situation, I would say about 3 months of bare bones expenses to start, and then eventually work your way up to 6 months or more. But honestly, there's no right answer here, and I know that that's frustrating. But at the end of the day, what ultimately matters is what you feel comfortable with, what helps you sleep better at night. If 1K is enough for you, great. Then go with that and then work on your other financial goals. If you feel like you need to hit 10K first and then you can move on, that's fine. Just do whatever feels best for you and definitely consider all of those factors that I just went through. It's also okay to work on multiple financial goals at once. I actually have a video on this. I can link that down below, but maybe you aim for reaching a certain balance in your emergency fund and then continue to add to that on a monthly basis while also, paying down high interest debt, while also investing. That's absolutely okay. There is a lot of noise and opinions around where to hold your emergency fund. Personally, I recommend a high yield savings account. There are other options. There's money market accounts. You could invest the money into a brokerage. You could just hold it in your savings account with your traditional bank. You could have it in cash and just keep it under your mattress. But what's worked best for me and what I do recommend is a high yield savings account. If you don't know what a high yield savings account is, these are often online banks where you can store your money and you earn a little bit of interest. So as of the time of me filming this, I know that my high yield savings account is at 3.9%. So I'm gaining a little bit of interest on a monthly basis. So hello, passive income, very easy to make a little bit of extra cash in the year. And I absolutely love that. So, I have my emergency fund and yes, I can keep adding to it on a monthly basis, but no matter what, it's just going to keep on growing because of that interest rate. Now be aware that the interest rate can fluctuate. So it can increase, it can also decrease, but with a high yield savings account, you will not lose money. It's not possible to lose money because the money is not invested. That money is also accessible, but not too accessible. So you won't be able to transfer money out of it immediately for most banks, but you can start the transfer process and then you'll have that money to your main checking account or wherever you choose to send it to within a couple of days if an emergency pops up. And that's good for people who are tempted to spend their emergency fund. Sometimes people see money and they're like, oh, now I can spend it. But if you have it separate from your main checking account, you should be able to resist that temptation, hopefully. High yield savings accounts are also very safe. Most of them are FDIC insured, typically up to $250,000, so you don't have to worry about that. And the bulk of them do not have any sort of fees, which I recommend opening one that does not have fees. So personally, I use Marcus by Goldman Sachs. I do have my referral link down in the description box. That is where I hold my entire emergency fund as well as all of my sinking funds. But I also really like Ally Bank for a high yield savings account as well as Synchrony Bank, but there are many options out there. Choose what works best for you. Creating and sticking to a budget will definitely help. That also includes tracking your spending. I do have a couple of videos on budgeting. I can link those down below in my description box. But if you have any money left over after all of your expenses, be sure to set a specific amount to your emergency fund and make it happen. And going along with that, if you can, find areas in your budget where you can eliminate costs or reduce costs and then redirect those toward your emergency fund. You can also automate savings, so this is great. It's out of sight, out of mind. If you can set up your paychecks to automatically get saved to your emergency fund, this will help tremendously. Even just $10 per paycheck or $50 per paycheck will add up. Use any windfalls wisely. So if you get a tax refund, if you get a bonus from your job, if you have any unexpected cash coming to you, you can use that to boost your emergency fund. Another great way to build up your savings, if you are able to, are side hustles or just any extra income. So that can be a second job, that can be some gig work, but this could even be things like selling things around your home that you're no longer using or that you no longer need, and then putting that money toward your savings. I actually have an older video about boosting your savings and ways to do that, so I'll link that down below. That should be helpful as well. When it comes to actually using your emergency fund, be sure you're not pulling from it for things like buying a new phone or going on vacation or even paying just your regular bills. Obviously, if you absolutely need to, like the electricity is going to be shut off and that's an emergency, so you can pull from it. But try to avoid that. You want that there for true emergencies. If you find yourself wanting to pull from it for vacations and other things, that's what sinking funds are for. So you can build up your sinking funds separate from your emergency fund. It's something that should be reserved for legitimate emergencies only. And if an emergency comes up, I hope that that does not happen to you. I hope that you can just keep on adding to your savings. But life happens, and I know that it is so tough to work so hard on saving up this money and having to use it, but that's exactly what this is for. But like I said before, you had that money for these situations, and you should be proud that you had that. By building an emergency fund, you will end up in a better financial situation overall. It's something that can be rebuilt. So just basically work through these steps again. Do what you need to boost that fund again. Make it a top priority, make it a top financial goal, and then you can get your money back to where it was or maybe even beyond that. So if you don't have an emergency fund, I highly suggest that you start building one. Even just $100 will make a difference in a tough situation. And I promise you, your future self will thank you for taking this step toward financial security. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to comment down below what it is that you are doing to boost your emergency fund. But otherwise, please give this video a thumbs up. It really supports my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one.